I'm going to say three things. One, the best thing a young father can do for their child is to respect that child's mother.
Yes, sir.
Whether you like her, you don't, y'all together, you're not, you think she's wonderful, you think she's hell. Respect that woman and speak about her respectfully to your child. We do a horrible job of this.
Yes, sir.
We use too many times couples use each other as a means of trying to gain leverage over a child's emotions. It's a horrible manipulation. So the first thing I would tell a young man is be careful who you procreate with, because you will be tied to that sister the rest of your living days.
Yes, sir.
Camera rolling, audio rolling. This is an audio visual sync.
Good people, what's up, what's good, y'all? I'm blessed to be your host, Caleb Smith. Today's guest, man, is a very, very special person, brilliant mind. I would say one of our most brilliant minds. Every single time hearing you speak, your books, everything, it touches the people.
Yes.
Like what we were just talking about off camera, even with students at Clark trying to get into your classes.
Yes, sir.
It's hard.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Daniel Black, how you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling fantastic. Glad to be here. Thank
Yes,
you
sir.
for having me, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Never take that lightly. Before we even talk about Isaac's song, one thing that I really wanted to hear your mindset perspective on, Nottoway Plantation, seeing that deep Louisiana, deep South, it burned down. Spiritually, what did you take from seeing that occurrence take place?
I've talked about this with several people, and I think spiritually, I think the ancestors are rumbling. I think the ancestors are speaking. And I think, quite frankly, I think the ancestors are telling us as Black people to get ready, because a time of great change and great transformation, is coming. And what's interesting is burning down these houses is almost kind of like saying, Black people, we've paid our debt to this society. Don't feel that you owe America anything, right? Because we've already paid it. And our job is to get clear and to get ready and to teach this history to our children so that they never, ever forget it. Even quite frankly, having people now to tour a plantation is really like putting our trauma on display. And so I feel like the ancestors are saying, we've had enough of this. It's time for a change.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Isaac's song, excellent book. What inspired that, Dr. Black, you getting back into the lab, writing that beautiful art piece?
Isaac's song. I've been very concerned about Black young men who are estranged from their fathers. I've been really concerned about that because there are far, far, far too many of us. It's always a few in any society. But in fact, what's strange among most young Black men I know is to be close to their fathers. And so I've been very concerned about what has happened, what have we done, what's the problem with fatherhood, why are so many young Black boys in tension with their daddies? Yeah. And so that's, I think, the impetus for this book, trying to help young Black boys see, and young Black people, period, too, including Black girls, see that sometimes we have to realize that we were conceived by wounded people. In fact, it's always true, right? Yeah. And sometimes those wounded people birthed us so that we might heal them. We're always looking for healing to come from our parents, but sometimes we're the healer of our parents.
Wow. How about that, Dr. Black? Man, one quote in particular, playing the audio book at the gym, at the park, I was like, man, that's a bar right there. Just, taking notes. One quote in particular. How smart is it to get mad at a mountain? Either climb it or go around it. Don't spend a lifetime waiting for it to move. Only a fool does that.
Yeah.
Break that down for me, Dr.
Yeah, I think it's suggesting that we have to stop hoping our parents will get better. We have to stop hoping our parents will be different. We got to stop hoping our parents will be more excellent than they are. The truth of the matter is they're about as excellent as they're going to get. Our job is to be as excellent as we can be, and to understand that they didn't have to be perfect in order for us to have a great life. You don't need perfect parents in order to have a great life. That is simply the dream. That's the American dream. You know, that's the whole Leave It to Beaver and
Yeah.
and Brady Bunch kind of daddies. But imperfect people absolutely can plant excellent harvests.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even when I think about it in terms of that metaphor, a seed doesn't require perfect soil.
Yes, sir.
You know, it'll still bloom in soil that was just okay, because the excellence is already in the seed. It's not in the soil.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
In the book, Isaac, of course, his father, them having that rift, right? He's not who his father wants him to be, but his mother was always loving, teaching him to imagine, to read, be articulate,
Right.
have fun with those things. As young Black boys, young Black men now who are grown up, how do we try to, I would say, bridge that gap from our fathers? Because sometimes fathers, they can be very stoic. They can be, especially Black fathers, they can be very rough or cold, and not just simply say, son, I love you. I'm here
Well,
for
see,
you.
part of the problem is that our definition of motherhood, Caleb, our definition, the definition of fatherhood, they're too far apart.
Wow.
Fatherhood has never been required of fatherhood to nurture anybody or anything. Fatherhood does not require that. Motherhood requires it.
Yes, sir.
Fathers are taught to provide for families, but to provide materially, not emotionally. Fathers are taught that you protect your family, but that means protect them from outside danger, right? The problem with manhood is that there are no emotional components to it. And until we add some, we're going to keep getting what we've gotten.
Emotional intelligence, that's become like a new buzzword, I would say.
Yeah.
How do we as Black men start to create and embrace more emotional intelligence and not just always being mad or angry all
Well,
the
you know,
time?
I was telling someone yesterday this is funny you're asking. One of the things that we as Black men need to do, we need to define manhood outside of women and children.
Yeah.
Like if you never marry and if you never birth any children, right? What kind of man are you? And if we can answer that, we could get something really revolutionary. We keep defining our manhood in relationship to women and children because manhood, as we know it, requires us to put somebody else to be subject under us.
That's right.
We have to be in rulership over somebody, right? In order to understand our manhood in its fullest function, in its fullest blooming. And that's a problem.
Yes, sir.
Which really means we have a slave master manhood. That's really the problem. We're trying to enact the same construct of manhood that slave captors did, you know, who bought and sold us. Yes. We're just buying and selling our women and children, right? And we're not calling it that, right? But it's the same thing. And we need a new way of understanding man. We need a new definition of manhood, right? That does not depend upon who's subject to us.
I would say, or ask you rather, in your own words, then, what exactly does a upstanding Black man and real manhood look like to you, Dr. Black?
I think that a man should define himself by his character.
That's right.
Right? Meaning his integrity, his humility, his honesty, his spirituality, his work ethic, his discipline. I think these are the things that we should use to define manhood. And quite frankly, if we did use them right now, many, many brothers are going to fall short. Many brothers are going to fall short because we're depending on things. Most Black men, many Black men, I might say, are depending on things like how much money you make, you know, what kind of car you drive, how fine is the sister standing next to you, all these things, you know, when in truth, those things have nothing to do with manhood. That's really just performance. And so I think we need to use the character principles.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Dr. Black, again, Isaac Song, excellent book. Again, you know, just playing it. I was getting emotional at the gym. Like I'm over here working out. I'm like, dang, I'm about to cry real quick. Like it's crazy. And again, another line. What did pain teach you? That one, that sat with me. What does that mean to you? What did pain teach you, Dr. Black?
I think it's asking, like, never to let a difficult situation make you think that the problem is another person, right? You're never really fighting another person. All struggles are really between you and your destiny. You're never fighting someone else, right? Even at school, when it's like, oh my God, I got a D out of the class. The teacher didn't like me. That's not the problem, because somebody got an A. Somebody got an A.
You just weren't good
It
enough.
just why wasn't it you?
Yeah.
But see, if one could tell themselves the truth, right, then they would come to understand that the teacher is irrelevant, right? Because even in a difficult situation, excellence is always possible, right? And so I think that question of what did pain come to teach you is really asking everybody to look at yourself and to ask yourself, where did you fall short? What do you need to do a little bit more of? It's never what somebody else did to you. We and I've fallen into this so many times. We are so quick to believe that somebody else's shortcoming is the explanation for why I don't have what I have or why I messed up. It's never the explanation. It's never the reason.
Dig deeper. Yeah, indeed. I'm young, but when I started thinking about like fatherhood, things like that, I get scared because it's like I don't want to pass down the same things that I had to deal with, right? So for young Black men who might be young fathers or Black men who might not be fathers just yet, how do we try to avoid passing down intergenerational trauma, Dr.
I'm going to say 3 things. 1, the best thing a young father can do for their child is to respect that child's mother.
Yes, sir.
Whether you like her, you don't, y'all together, you're not, you think she's wonderful, you think she's hell. Respect that woman. And speak about her respectfully to your child. We do a horrible job of this.
Yes, sir.
We use, too many times, couples use each other as a means of trying to gain leverage over a child, over a child's emotions. It's a horrible manipulation. So the first thing I would tell a young man is, be careful who you procreate with, because you will be tied to that sister the rest of your living days.
Yes, sir.
The second thing I would tell him, if a young brother is trying to be an excellent father, which I think, of course, is a beautiful, beautiful thing, and that is spend most of your time not buying things. Spend most of your time physically nurturing and touching your child, which means hold their hand, comb their hair. See, I still can't figure out why fathers of daughters can't do hair.
Talk about it.
I still can't figure that out.
It's feminine, Dr. Black.
Right.
That's what they like to think.
And the problem with that, right, is that it bridges a gap, right? Because when a mama takes a son to the barbershop,
Yeah.
is she being masculine? That's just the silliest, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of in life, right? If a son needs to take a bath at 5, at 7, no Black mother I know is apprehensive about taking a son into the bath.
Hey, that was my grandma.
None.
Yeah, you're not lying, Dr.
None.
Black.
Take
Nah.
them drawers off and get in this tub, right? But
That's
men
right.
will call a woman
Yeah.
to bathe a girl. See, this is which means the breach and the gap is too large. But what we don't know is what's the consequence of this. And one of the things I've been thinking about, Katie, one of the consequences of this is our girls at 14, at 15, at 16 end up meeting 14, 15, 16, 17 year old, and they come to the table too fragile and too insecure. And it's because their interaction with maleness has been too distant. The first time a young girl is intimate with another male is a boyfriend, that's a problem. It was supposed to have been her daddy.
Yes, sir, Dr. Black.
She was supposed to sit between his legs as he's doing her hair. She would know what a man smells like. She would know a male's energy. See, by the time she gets in front of, she's 15 and this boy is 16, his ability to take advantage of her is too easy. Because maleness is too unknown to her. That's the price we end up paying for that.
Yes, sir. Why do you think physical touch is so uncomfortable for most Black men? Because I didn't realize that I was falling into that same category until like 5 years ago, where hugging my father or like my grandfather felt weird. My grandfather, he was born in the early 40s, so he grew up during that time of like sharecropping,
Sure.
all of that. And
Sure.
he could be very laid back, sweet spirit, but like when it comes to hugs, things like that, he's just very laid back with it. And then I realized other people's fathers, same way. Our brothers, we don't even hug our brothers. We just dap each other up.
Right.
We don't even say I love you.
Right.
It's just like I see you, but instead of just saying I love you, why is that so hard for us when it comes to physical touch? Because I saw that affected me when it came to relationships.
Sure.
All of that as well.
Where
I'm just too cool, laid back, all of that.
Sure will. Because touch insists upon vulnerability.
Yeah.
And vulnerability is something Black men absolutely avoid like the plague. Because vulnerability means that your heart is open.
Yeah.
Vulnerability means that the truth of who you are is about to be known. And the problem with that is that if nothing, Black manhood is a mask and a performance. And if you take off the mask, somebody's about to really see who you are. That's right. And most of who we are and what we are, we will not be applauded for it, right, as men. And the other thing is the worst thing, which is horrible, the worst thing I think most young Black boys think of that they never want to be is thought of as gay, right? And because of that, they swing the other extreme, right? The hypermasculinity. So everything is so masculinized to the point of it being sterile, right? And it has no real spirit and no real humanity in it. And the problem with that is we're far too homophobic as a people. Yes, but also we, at some point, I want us to get smart enough to realize that gay kids keep coming. But gay kids keep coming because God is trying to tell us, I think, that there's a particular utility of gay kids in a community, and we actually need them. That's not the same thing as tolerate. That's right. We actually need them. The problem is ain't no parents praying for them, though. Nobody's welcoming a gay child. If people get one, they'll endure it. I don't know any parent who is praying for it and say, God, if you send me a gay child, I'd be so happy. I don't know any parents who's saying it yet. So a gay child has hell to pay because they get here and realize that none of them were beckoned, none of them were summoned, none of them were welcomed. And so they just have to endure being alive and among a people who never dreamed that they had any function.
My goodness. Dr. Black, from having friends who were gay, from having mentors, like one of my biggest mentors in my life was a gay Black man, showed me everything. And from us talking and having conversations in college for 2+ hours about how he had fears if he had a child, he wouldn't want his own son to be gay.
Right.
And
which means to be like him.
That would hurt me because I'm like, what? Because he was like all the things that he would have to go through, all of that. How do we change this in our community? Because,
it's called self-hatred.
Yeah.
And in fact, what you realize, Caleb, which is a hard pill to swallow, is I think most Black people, if they could not have Black kids, they wouldn't.
How about that?
Yeah. Because I don't want my child to struggle, which is what a lot of people say whose kids end up being gay. Well, if you don't want your children to struggle, you can't have no Black ones. Because Black kids are going to struggle in America. They're by virtue of being Black, not because something's wrong with you, right? And so I think that one of the things we need to do is to begin a campaign of touch. I firmly believe, Caleb, that if we touched Black boys, we could end the Black prison industrial complex in America. I think the touch would do it alone. If we touched Black boys, they would dream of how to please you. Yeah. I think the reason so many Black boys end up going to jail is because, and they couldn't explain it, but it's because emotionally they are untied and unconnected to anybody's heart.
Man, this is heavy, Dr. Black. One film that has everybody talking, of course, and I know everybody probably asks you about it every single day, is Sinners. But
yes.
You said something, and I was like, there you go, that the film is started and it ended in the church.
Sure.
And not too many people caught that. In this same church, though, just plenty of times people get church hurt. People's passions die. People are told that you're not good enough. Why is queerness such this taboo topic in the Black church? But then there's so many people who are same gender loving all throughout the church, but then when they show up to church, they have to hide those things.
Part of the culprit is the Bible itself, because the Bible does not celebrate queer people. In fact, the way most people read it, the Bible actually condemns them, right? And because of that, most churches, certainly black ones too, have been using the Bible as its template, as the means and the measure by which it gets its guidance and its instructions. And part of that instruction is to absolutely to abhor, right, sexuality differences. And so I think the Bible is certainly at fault in that way. The irony is every church I've ever been to has some gay people in it, but that's because every community does,
Yes.
which really means in some ways the community is more fluid than the scripture, right? And what it also means is, I'm gonna just take a risk. It also means we're probably reading the wrong scripture. Yeah. That whoever wrote that didn't write it for a people as varied and as wonderful and as different and as various as black people.
Yes, sir. Dr. Black, you once stated that when we are playing the role that's not ourselves, of somebody else, we're actually playing the role of the devil. Again, back to sinners. How do we try to fit into our true, authentic selves as black people, black spirits, and not trying to fit into a white world?
I think by doing a very dangerous thing, Caleb, and that is, I think we should ask ourselves and be clear, what would you do and what brings you joy if you got no money for it? If you got no money for it at all, what would you do on the earth? If the earth provided all the, you got water, you have food, but there was no income anywhere every day, what would you do? And I think most people have no answer to that question because we have become work horses. We have become, what's the word I want to use? Robots who are performing a service. And most people define themselves by the work they do. But see, it's not the same thing. Who you are and what you do is not the same definition. So sometimes folks will say, well, who are you? And folks will say, I'm a teacher. That's not who you are. That's what you do.
That's right.
Right? Who are you? I'm a construction worker. That's not who you are. That's the work you do. Right? So too many people define themselves by the utility of the ways in which the Western world uses their body, right? Instead of, no, who are you? Like what's your being? Like, what gift do you bring to the planet from the spirit realm? And I just think most people just never understand that and never get around to answering that question.
That's heavy. The spirit realm, right? I think about Annie in the film, practicing hoodoo.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, though, throughout social media, a lot of black Christians condemn the film, call it demonic, all of those things. But I'm like, this is what our people were actually doing. Hearing you say in the past about how basically black spirituality was being masked in the black church, African spirituality rather. And why is it so at this standpoint now that we have black Christians who are anti themselves? How do we try to fix that, Dr. Black?
I think we need a new scripture.
Yeah.
No, literally.
Yeah.
We need a new scripture.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible is outdated in terms of its ability to articulate the complexity of black existence. Mm-hmm. The second thing is, I think we need to overhaul the church. I don't think we should get rid of the building. We have a lot of real estate, in terms of physical real estate, literally in these buildings. But I think we need to overhaul the institution. And the third thing is we need some other institutions. The black church is a good thing and wonderful, but we need some other institutions. We don't have enough institutions in our community. We need trauma centers, places where people can go to work out and work through trauma, right? Everybody black I know talks about trauma and black folks in trauma, but there's nowhere anybody can go, right, to get any trauma help. I find that so ironic, right? We need some trauma centers. We need some healing centers, right? I think we need a more varied spirituality. Like, I think there need to be places where black people can go and learn about various forms of spirituality and various manifestations of God. Christianity's had its day, right? But what did our ancestors believe before they got here, right? And what belief system seems to ring true to your spirit? Not just what did grandma believe.
That's right.
So I think those things would be very helpful.
Indeed, brother. What does Black healing look like to you then, Dr. Black? Us as a people, healing the right way.
I think many of the things I just said. I think the only other thing I might add is I don't know that I think that Black men and women. I don't think grown adult Black men and women know how to be, and I don't think we've been trained to actually be friends. Like I was telling a friend this the other day. Every married man I know, all his friends are men.
That's a good observation. Yeah.
And most women want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
We don't trust grown men with other women. Women don't trust them. Men don't trust them. Right? That's a sad thing.
Mm-hmm.
That a grown man can't have a dear close friend who is a woman.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem, I think. And what it means is when it comes time for us to build together, right? Our relationships are very, very, very elementary, if existing at all.
Yes, sir. Wow. During this time, on that same standpoint, on social media every single day, you see Black men arguing with Black women. How do we try to fix this? Because it's crazy, Dr. Black, like every single day, you see arguments in the comments, Black women saying Black men aren't this, Black men saying that Black women aren't this, but we come from a Black woman, you come from a Black man. How do we try to fix this as a whole, as a people?
I have to be honest, I don't ever see that.
Oh, wow.
And I think
Yeah.
I think I don't see it because
Yeah.
I intentionally avoid it.
Yeah, that's good.
Which probably is my answer.
Yeah.
I think there's too much on social media that we digest.
Mm-hmm.
Some of it I think we should absolutely simply ignore.
Yeah.
There are certain things, that just I never, ever, ever behold. I never, ever, ever see on social media women talking negatively about Black men.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's very possibly because people don't send that to me.
Yeah.
They know not to send that to me.
Yes, sir.
I don't honor that. I don't believe in that. And I think it's important for us to shield ourselves against forms of self-hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I think it's important that you don't eat everything in a grocery store, though it is available to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think one has to be intelligent enough to know what to eat and what not to eat. Just because it's available doesn't mean you should have it. So I think my first answer would be let's stop digesting things that make us regurgitate hatred.
Yes, sir. As a writer, well-known writer, killing it, what would you say was your overall takeaway from the film Sinners, from seeing it?
That I think we're at a place in time now where Black creatives should simply create and should create for Black people, regardless of what white people think about it, regardless of what some Black people think about it. Just give us art that liberates. And for the people who it does not liberate, their time of freedom hasn't come. Right. But I think we can stop thinking we need to be safe now or be safe anymore. Safety doesn't breed freedom. If people don't like it, it's okay. If people hate it, it's okay. And so I think what Sinners really show is that Ryan Coogler was saying, the world can kiss my ass. I'm going to say what I need to say. I'm going to create something that really, hopefully, will help my people see the magic and the power of who we are, regardless of what other people think. I just think we're there now.
Yes, sir. In the film, seeing them in those cotton fields, picking cotton, right? I thought about, previous statements from you talking about Black geniuses being in those fields, music happening, language of God, humming. What do you think drove our people to keep going? Because I couldn't imagine myself being in those type of living conditions and to still dream, to keep going, keep living. What do you think was the main source behind that, Dr. Black?
The blues. Yeah, I think it's the music. Music has always kept Black people alive. Music has always kept Black institutions alive. Music has always been the motivator. When we couldn't do anything, we sang. When we were in the belly of ships, we hummed. Picking cotton, we sang. Laying across railroads, we sang. Cleaning other people's houses, we sang. I think music is the great carrier of Black difficulty and Black joy. And I think the whole point of the film was to show how Black music is bigger than any one institution, like the church or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been the reason that Black people survived.
Yes, sir. One Black institution that's very, very poignant is the HBCUs, historically Black colleges. You know, you would know that, of course, the most being at Clark. During this time, though, of course, during this Trump presidency, we see things like African American studies that they're trying to attack. How do we still try to teach our children and also teach in these Black historic places these topics on Black history, although we are facing a time where they're trying to strip all of those things away from us?
I think we understand that the public, the government's attempt to strip Black history from the schools has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with Black kids knowing Black history.
That's right.
In other words, if Black people won't teach it, that's the crime. The fact that public schools won't doesn't move me, because public schools never really did.
Yes.
Right? What's the crime is if Black kids won't do it. And I think something's wrong with people, Caleb. Something's wrong with people who hope their enemy will teach their children their history.
Simple. Yes, sir. It's this term that's being thrown around now throughout the news, social media, public discourse of quote unquote Black fatigue, Dr. Black. It's insane. What would you have to say to a white person who says that I'm having Black fatigue? What would be your retort to that comment, to that?
I'm not sure what they mean by that.
So basically what they mean by that, Dr. Black, Sinners, that being so successful, they're saying that all the movies are all Black. They're saying that on TV, all the actors are all Black. I know it sounds asinine, but thus they're saying that they're having Black fatigue because everywhere that they look on TV, media, there's Black people.
Oh, okay. I would tell them, well, you have 400 more years to go.
Yes, sir. It's that simple. Yes, sir. What do you think is the future of our Black institutions, such as the church, our colleges? What is the future of our Black institutions in your own eyes?
I'm not sure. I pray these institutions make it, but the truth of the matter is it's going to be up to conscious Black folks as to whether or not they do. Mm-hmm. We have to make conscious decisions about saving the church, the school, our schools, et cetera, because we value them. That's the bottom line. If we don't value them, they'll close. If we do value them, we'll keep them. It's just that simple.
Yes, sir.
And to see whether or not we do, I suppose, is yet to be seen.
One of my last few questions for you, Dr. Black. What is your overall message to emerging Black storytellers and educators who want to make art that heals and also disrupts?
I think I would just say two things. One, don't connect art to money. Mm-hmm. Do it because of the salvific nature of the art itself. Do it because of the ways in which art transforms life. Do it for the ways in which art heals. If you start doing art for money, you now have lost the healing dimension and the spiritual dimension of it. That doesn't mean that we don't need money. Of course we do. And I think money comes from good art, but don't do it for the money. That's the first thing. The second thing, I think, is to tell artists, be unafraid of being exclusive in terms of your audience, meaning don't be afraid to do art that white folks or other people will say, I don't think that was for me. It may not be for you. And be fine with it not being for them. Yes, right? We've been too concerned over the years about what white people think about our work, about our art, about what we do. Are they going to like this? Oh my God, is that going to piss them off? We have to step into a new dimension where we're unconcerned about not treating people uglily or not being nasty at all, but being literally unconcerned about the ways in which our art affects other people for whom the art was not created. And this is important because their art is for them. You know, when they did the Mona Lisa, they weren't wondering, oh my God, will African people like this? They've never asked themselves that question. Yes, Michelangelo didn't wonder if Black people were going to like that, you know? Mm-hmm. And this is very important, and nor should we. Yeah. We should simply do our creative work and it'll do its own transformation.
Hearing that, I think about a great conversation that you just had. And one line was, when you close your eyes and when we pray and we don't see ourselves, that could be very dangerous. Why is it so important for us to see ourselves? Because sometimes we hear Black Christians say, oh, it doesn't matter what color he was, any of that, but every other group, it matters to them. Why does us seeing ourselves when we pray matter?
Because if God doesn't look like you, then you worship somebody else.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hey, we just
Period.
start with that. Yes, sir.
Period.
Period. It is. Very last question for you, Dr. Black. What does true Black freedom look like to you?
The ability to be unconcerned about one's livelihood, as one is absolutely unapologetically committed to the revolution of Black people. Meaning, for a person to be absolutely dedicated to Black revolution, regardless of the kind of life or lifestyle that's going to result from that commitment.
Yes, sir. Dr. Black, thank you so much for your
Oh
time.
man, absolutely.
Look, I always
Anytime.
enjoy this with you, brother. Where can everybody follow you, purchase your books,
Classes,
all that good stuff?
Yeah. Yes, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Dr. Daniel Black. You can check out my books there. I am still at Clark. I'm teaching every semester. People always ask me, aren't you on sabbatical? I am not. I am teaching every semester, and I'll be teaching this fall as well. And this summer, I'll be doing lots of speaking engagements, lots of book talks and that kind of thing. So if a person wants to check me out, again, Facebook, Instagram, I'm on there probably every day, or some of my media folks are. And I've got a couple of new books coming, so look out for them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Black, thank you so much for your time, brother.
Absolutely.
Sharing your brilliant mind, your genius. Keep doing all the great work.
The honor is mine. Thank y'all for having me.
Much love, man. Thank y'all for
Appreciate
always
it.
tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.